Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tbh. Now, this one, this is the only one where I'm entering it, and normally I'm like 100% comfortable in these sessions. This one is a little different. This time I have my mother. My mother is my guest. So, Mom, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. God is.
And thank you for joining. I know you've seen some of the episodes, so I just want to hear what are your thoughts of the podcast so far.
So far, I think it has been excellent. It's a platform where people join in with your conversation, and I noticed that you discuss a broad spectrum of ideas and things that are current and relevant, and people can really identify with the topics being discussed. I think it's very good.
So for my viewers, when my mom gives the stamp of approval, then I feel like on whatever, my poems or my music or whatever, then I feel like I've done a bad job.
Excellent job. Excellent job.
I appreciate it. So this is the question that I ask all my viewers, so I'm not going to do it any different. So who is Vivienne Honeyghan or Burrell or whichever one you go by nowadays?
I thought that the mere fact that you know who I am, I wasn't going to be asked this question, but then I watched your program and I noticed that you say to all of your guests.
All of them.
So, yes. So no exception. So I want to say, first of all, I would say that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. And I will start there because that defines who I am. I am a mother. I am a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a true friend, an ardent worker. I consider myself an honest person, helpful, caring. I really enjoy the simpler things in life. For example, I really, really enjoy watching the sunset. I enjoy walking on the beach, and just the waves, just washing on my feet and walking in the sand. That is good enough for me. Or just sitting under a tree, a shady tree, and just listening to the birds chirping. That really will make my day. And so I think that's who I am. I enjoy gardening, and I just enjoy helping people and not boasting, but I'm happy to be a Seventh-day Adventist Christian.
You're in the perfect place for all those things where you are. You're back in Portland, where you're from.
Absolutely, and that is why I mention it, because as you're well aware, I always talk to you about having worship early in the mornings when the birds are having their worship.
So let me just cut you right there. So this was always a debate that me and my mother have had, where when we were living together, growing up with her, she always felt like we need to have worship early because the birds are having worship that early. And I was always like, but I'm not a bird. Like, what does that have to do with me?
No, you're not a bird and we're not birds, but if the birds can do it, I always say that if the birds can do it and they're consistent, I think we can do much better than the birds. Christ didn't die for the birds, he died for us. And so that's the least we can do. I think we should even first them in the morning.
I agree that we need to have our morning worship. I just don't know why our time needs to be in alignment with birds. That just never made.
No. It doesn't have to be in alignment, but I am sure you have read that the Bible tells us that early before dawn, Jesus would get up and he would go in the mountains or a solitary place and he would pray to his Father. Now, if Christ is our example, and he's sinless, and he can afford to get out of wherever he was staying and go pray and ask the Father to guide him throughout the day. What about us? I think we ought to do the same.
All right, so with that logic, we also need to find a wilderness and go in it for 40 days.
No, not at all, not at all. So, no. Look here, you can have your wilderness, your wilderness doesn't have to be that kind of wilderness. I mean, your wilderness could just be that you are being secluded for a time to spend quality time with God. And it doesn't have to be 40 days or 40 nights. The Lord doesn't require us to do that. But because he's so good to us, and because we need him so much, we can really, as a matter of fact, we should offer him our very best.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, our time belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we spend that time with him. And it goes when you have your friends, you like to hang out with them.
Yeah, right. I just don't want you to think that this isn't an argument about spending time with God. We agree.
I know.
Spend time with God. It's us 4:35 kind of.
No, but for me, let me tell you something. For me, if I wait until say 6, 7, people are up, I might be getting a call from work. That was back then. Getting a call from work, getting a call from somebody, and then you're just distracted, and it just it's like your day is thrown off. You know what I mean? So it is just best to me. I just feel comfortable. First things first, dealing with it first thing, and then move on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, in the early morning, it is more quiet, and you are able to
less distractions.
Yeah. Gotcha. It's just rough, but anyway. So I want to hear the origin. So you've said many times you're 7.
Excuse me, I know you are the one asking the question, but may I ask a question? Are you saying you're not getting up early and having your morning devotions?
When I wake up, I have my devotions. Okay. It's just not a priority for it to be early.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But whenever you do, first thing. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. And I try, so a thing that I've been trying is I try to always read my Bible before I check my phone. That's something
very good
that I try. I don't always do it, but it's something I try to do.
Yes, very good. Okay.
So I was asking, so you mentioned many times that you're an Adventist Christian. Talk to me about the origins of that, like how you got into the church and what that was like.
All right. Now, it's a long story, but of course, I know that you don't have all day. So I will give you the short version of it. Now, of course, I was told that I was christened in the Methodist, attended the Baptist that was in our community. But after the church was relocated to where I really don't know, then my mother started attending the New Testament Church of God. And so I would attend church with her. But of course, I was pretty young, so I did not get baptized. I didn't. So my elder sister, 3 years my senior, she was sent to a Seventh-day Adventist school. And there they had a week of her. She heard the message and she got baptized. And of course, she invited the family to church. Not everybody really responded positively to her invitation. But my older brother, her twin, and I started attending church with her. And there was a crusade that is at the Hope Day Seventh-day Adventist Church. They were having this crusade because we're talking about my hometown. And we both, my brother and I, got baptized. It was on the 17th of April, 1972. So I was just entered my teen years, and that's it. And something very interesting that I want to say, my closest neighbors closest neighbors, not just mine, I said our closest neighbors, were Seventh-day Adventists. However, all I knew about Seventh-day Adventists at the time was that they go to church on Saturdays, they don't eat pork. That was it, nothing more. I could hear the closer of the two neighbors having morning and evening devotion. I mean, I could set my clock, I could know that it is 6 o'clock. Day is dying in the west. And in the evening and in the morning, Lord, in the morning thou shalt hear my voice ascending high, morning and evening. But all we knew about Seventh-day Adventists was that they go to church on Saturdays and they did not eat pork.
Mm-hmm. So becoming an Adventist, what else did you grow to learn about the faith?
There's so many things, and I'm still learning. It's a lifelong thing. You learn about this truth every day. Now, I learned that as a Seventh-day Adventist, we're God's peculiar people, not that we are special above anybody else, but that we have a special message for the world. Mm-hmm. And this message, the same message was given to Abraham, it was given to the children of Israel back then. It was the same message that the disciples, Jesus came and he taught them and he left that with them. And it is the very same message, calling people out of sin, calling people out of the world, calling people to accept Jesus as a Lord and Savior, because we know that Jesus came, he died, and he went back to heaven, and he's interceding. He's our high priest. So we don't need any earthly priest to be our mediator. God is the go-between. So he is in heaven and he's interceding on our behalf. So I am just so happy and grateful that I was not living back then when if I sin, I would have to get a lamb or a dove or a pigeon or a goat. I can go straight to the Father and confess my sins. And he's willing and ready to forgive and to cleanse me from all my unrighteousness. And so I'm very happy for this Seventh-day Adventist message because it has made me the person I am today. And I thank God for that.
Amen, amen, amen. All right, so I imagine some of my listeners would want to hear, because I'm fast forwarding now, way in the future. Some of my listeners would want to hear about me as a baby or a child. So is there anything, any insight, something I may not know, something I may know, but that my listeners might want to know about me and how I was as a baby or as a young child?
Okay, very interesting question. And I'm not just going to, whatever I'm going, my answer is not that I'm just saying it because I want it to sound good about you. But remember, this is, what is it called? To be honest, right? So you know that I'm being factual. So I'm going to be honest as well, and I have to be. Now, of course, you know you have two older siblings. And so I was not prepared at the time for a third child because my state of mind at the time wasn't at that place. So I really wasn't ready for a third pregnancy. However, when you were born, because
an accident?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. May I say?
That's all I just got from that.
No. He really, really, really wanted a third child. But
okay.
At the moment, I'm saying I wasn't. My frame of mind at the time. But you know, we serve a God that is so loving and caring and wonderful. He made you so special, so very special, that any and everybody just loved you as a child. I remember one incident that Kenny's wasn't feeling well. At the time, she was about 6 years old, and Neil would have been 4 or somewhere there, and you could have been about 6 months or so. It was a Sunday, and so we had to take Kenny's to the hospital. But I was told that as a baby, I could not take you with me. And so we took you to this family in Maryland. Very good family. The husband was one of my past principals at Portland High School. And at the time, they had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. The boy was Kenny's age 6. And let me tell you, man, they were happy to keep you. I went to the hospital with Neil and Kenny. And when I returned, the mom said to me, Mrs. Honeyghan, where did you get this boy, this baby from? He is so sweet and so quiet. I had not a trouble. Nobody would have known that a baby was here. He didn't cry. I fed him, put him to sleep. He did not wake up. He did not cry. And so let me tell you, man, I had to keep my eyes on you 24/7 because anybody could steal you. Because it's like you were not afraid of anybody. They call you and you would just kind of stand and look and smile and whatever. But let me tell you, man, you were a marvelous child. Marvelous child, no problem. And I'm saying God did that because he knew the frame of my mind at the time. So took away everything out of you that would cause me any little trouble or heartache or anything like that. And you were an excellent baby, the best. Not like Neil, who was so clingy and crying all the time. Sticking to me? No, not Dale at all. You were an excellent child. And guess what? You still have that trait. You still have it, very independent. Yes.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I share this story, do you remember your 20th birthday? When we had that birthday party for you, too many persons were vying for your attention at that party. So I told this story, but I'm sure you did not hear it because too many persons were vying for your attention. So maybe you were here and there just listening and watching and taking in the little drama here and there. So it missed you. But I did share this story and I've shared it several times because it's a fact. Let me tell you, man, without a shadow of a doubt, I know that God did something very special because of my frame of mind at the time.
Wow. Okay. All right. So was it like you weren't like prepared for like the stress of,
I wanted to go back to school.
Okay.
I really wanted to go back to school and I was not prepared for another pregnancy at the time. So that was it.
Did you want to study what you eventually studied at NCU when you went back?
Sort of. When I first went to West Indies College, I had a lecturer. She was a child psychologist, and I was meeting a child psychologist for the very first time, and I was intrigued by what she was sharing, and that was my dream, to become a child psychologist. And so that is what I wanted to pursue. So even though it's not really that, but it's close within the same.
For those who don't know, when you went to NCU, you eventually studied what?
Guidance and counseling, and emphasis in social work. And that was what I did.
Okay. So I'm gonna fast forward again, and we're gonna go to now. I remember This would have been in the early 2000s. Kenny was at UA. Neil was at NCU.
Yes.
I was at high school.
Yes.
Right? So that's two children in college. One child in high school. You are supporting the whole household. One income. What was that like?
It was extremely difficult, very difficult. But little is much when God is in it. I'm going to tell you that. It's much with God. And as you all are aware, well, not you know, but your listeners, they don't know. I grew up with 5 brothers. I have 2 older siblings. One is deceased, and the other resides in the UK, but I did not grow up with her. So I grew up with five brothers and 3 sisters. To date, all of them are overseas except one brother. So it's just my brother and I who are here in Jamaica. And they all are doing relatively well for themselves. And there are times when I could have asked for assistance, but I choose not to. 1 or 2 times I did ask my elder sister, the same one who invited me to the Lord, and she, Auntie Nelly I'm referring to, as you are well aware, she is so kind, so helpful, so caring, and so thoughtful. She assisted us in every way. But 2 of the others, if I were to ask, not that they are not kind and thoughtful, but they would say to me, but sis, you're working your money and you're giving your money to church. God don't want no money from you. God doesn't need your money. God said the cattle up on 1,000 hills belong to him. So why are you taking your money, going to church, giving to church? You don't have to. And so, you know, there is a story in Ezra chapter 8. And this story would come home to me so often. When Ezra was going back to Jerusalem with all the vessels and the money that the king had given him to go and rebuild the temple, he said he would have asked the king for assistance where protection is concerned, for horsemen and soldiers and all of that, because, you know, thieves were along the way. But he said he was ashamed. Why was he ashamed? Because he was boasting of how good his God is and how his God would protect and guide. And then if you're saying you have a God who is so good and powerful, and then you're going to come to the king and ask for protection, he said he could not do that, he was ashamed. So it was the same scenario with me. I would not go to them and ask them because I'm boasting and saying that I have a God who will provide for me. And he said, you're returning your, they didn't use the word return. You're giving you throw your offering, you give your tithe, you're giving your money to pass on and with it. Use your money and take care of yourself, don't do that. So I would not go to them, I could not go to them because I would be saying, you trust in the Lord and you said the Lord will help you, and we don't really believe in him that much, and you're coming to, I could not do that. And so it was the Lord who helped me along the way. And of course, you know, I had my credit union, so I would go and I would get several loans and that helped. And then of course, if I needed a little change, like a 2,000 or 3,000 to just tie me over until the end of the month, there were 3 persons that I would really ask. One was an aged lady who is now deceased, and 2 other persons, and they were willing, because they were my friends, they were willing to assist me until the end of the month. And so it was. And so it was like the little lad with his 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, the Lord was just supplying, because each time when the school fee or the tuition or whatever was due, It's like the Lord just made a way and we were able to survive. And you were very, very, very helpful. And as I'll go back to your independence, um, with your entrepreneurial skills, you would have your money, your pocket money, your lunch money, and you would invest it. You would buy things and you would sell, and you were able to help yourself. So I'm telling you that it is in your blood. It is there in you. You're a go-getter, and you're always trying to help yourself, and that is why I admire you so much. And that's very, very, very good.
For those who don't know, in high school, I used to sell, there's these chocolates called Jet. And I used to buy the box of Jets and
Yes.
school and sell them and push some little bubble gum and stuff, which was against the school rules. I don't know if you knew that.
I'm not sure. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, it was against, I wasn't supposed to be doing it. But
Okay. Okay.
But I had to hide and sell them. Yeah, I don't recall if all the teachers were very strict about it, but if like the principal, I remember the principal took away a box once.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but the reason I did not know, because where I was working, students would do it. So I did not think it was, against the school rule. I really didn't know that.
Yeah, it was contraband. It wasn't allowed, but but I had to make a way.
Yeah. And may I just say something too? And it would be remiss of me if I really did not include this part too. I really, really, really thank the education department of the Mandeville Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yeah.
I really have to say that, because there were times when they would offer scholarships and small grants and so forth to the students who are in need. And of course, Neil would apply and he would have gotten some assistance. And I think you did, yes, you did at one time as well, got some assistance from the education department of the Mandeville Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so I really have to make mention of that. That was very thoughtful, and we're very grateful to be the beneficiaries of those assistance. Yes.
Okay. All right, so now for the difficult part.
I thought that I had answered the difficult questions really.
Nah, those are the easy stuff. Those are the good stuff, and you singing my praises. But here's the difficult part. In 2014, I got in some trouble. I'm not gonna go into the details of the trouble because it doesn't just involve me. I'm just gonna focus on myself.
Yeah.
So I got in trouble with a situation that involved a young lady, and I was in trouble with school, NCU. But I didn't tell you about it. I didn't want to tell you about it. I couldn't tell you about it. Or at least that was my thought. And I recall, so this is weeks going on, days and weeks. And I recall one Saturday evening, I believe, Saturday night, I reached home. You were there. Sister Melville was there. Which, fair to say, it was your best friend?
One of my best friends, yes.
Okay. And she was on the phone. Immediately, I could just tell from the atmosphere that something was wrong. And you took me into your room. And I remember you asked me, you said, why didn't you tell me you were in trouble? I don't know what I said. Probably about something. You asked me a question, which was the hardest question I've ever had to answer in my life. And you asked me if I had sex with a young lady. And I had to be honest, I had to say yes. But just saying that word yes was super hard. Because despite all that I was doing, I never wanted you to know any of it. Not even just like because I didn't want to get in trouble or whatever, but just didn't want to disappoint you. So I just want to know, and we've never really spoken about that situation after it happened. So I just want to know what that whole thing was like for you.
This is really the difficult question. Now, as you have said, you did not tell me about it. So that evening, somebody at church called me, who was a senior person involved in the situation, called me and asked me if you had said anything to me. And I said no. And at the time, Sister Melville was standing right beside me. And he said, I have to talk to you privately. And I said, no, man, it's okay. You can just talk to me, because there were some other issues with you and some of your classes.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're not offering the classes and saying you should go to school of music, whatever. There are some things happening with you. So I thought, and I did speak to that person, so I thought that he was going to discuss that situation with me. And so I was saying, it's okay, man, you can say it, it's all right for her to be there. And he said, no, I have to talk to you alone. And then she excused herself and she left. And then he told me the situation, and it was extremely difficult. It's like I was in shock. I just could not believe it. I started crying, and when I got home, I called Sister Melville and I told her, and she came by, and that part of it, she was there and all of that. But what happened to me, as you have said, we have never discussed it, but it was one of the lowest moments of my life. It was hard. And the reason it was so difficult is because, just like the Pharisee in Luke chapter 18, that Pharisee went in the temple and he was praying his prayer, Lord, I am not like other men are, extortioners, and you know the story. So my attitude, not that I was praying that prayer, I've never prayed that prayer, but my attitude was like the Pharisee, put it that way. Lord, my children and I are not like those other persons. I must repeat again, that was never my prayer. Mm-hmm. I'm saying my attitude was that. And so when that happened, I realized that we are like those other persons. And so it was the lowest moment, but it was also the beginning of something great in my Christian walk with the Lord. Because of that experience, I was less judgmental. I was less critical of other persons. If I heard that something happened to a young person, it's like I wouldn't be that empathetic at the time. But if I were to hear of any such thing, fast forwarding, my attitude would be, just let's pray. Let's pray for that person. Let's ask God to keep that person. I pray that that person doesn't stop trusting and believing in the Lord, but they will come back to the Lord. And so in Romans 8:28, we are told that, for we know that all things work together for good. And I'm not saying that that should have happened, but it did happen. But I emerged from the situation a better person, a more caring person, more understanding. And I am able to say that we are all in this together. And so when one person is down, there's no rejoicing. And not that I was rejoicing, but you understand the point, and there's no rejoicing. We ought to just pray up one another and help one another, because where I am weak, you're strong, and where you're strong, I am weak. So even though it was a very sad and so I want to, what is this? It was sad, and I was disappointed because I did not see you in that light. And I was expecting you to exercise better judgment, and so I to be honest, I wasn't blaming myself that I did not train you right. No, I did not look at it that way. I just said that we all make mistakes, and I am no perfect person. We all make our mistakes, and we learn from them and move on. And I'm going to repeat, even though it was a very low period of my life, it was also the beginning of my conversion of the Lord, because I was talking to him more. And let me tell you, sometimes adversities will bring out the very best in us. We talk to the Lord more often, we reason, and as I've said before, we are able to empathize with others and know that we are all human beings, and we all have our weak spot. And so that was it. And I really, really had to thank my friend, Sister Melville. She was there for us every step of the way.
Yep.
She was the shoulder I had to cry on. She was the one who would hold my hand when I was feeling so sad, and she was there with me every step of the way. And that is why she's one of my best friends, and she's a very good person, somebody you can really rely on, and she will be there for you every step of the way. She's a very good friend.
Yeah, she definitely was. She was there throughout that whole thing. There was that which was difficult. Then there was the night that I got arrested. Technically, I got arrested, though no handcuffs were really put on me. And I don't even think I really went through that thing. We didn't discuss that either.
Discussed nothing.
Yeah,
that's the topic was, and I remember, may I just interrupt to say something? I remember, I think it was one day I think we had just had worship, and you're always on the go, on the move, and smiling, and on the phone with your friends, and talking and having a good time. And I don't remember the exact question I asked, but I said something like this, like, Dale, are you all right? You're not thinking about the situation? And I remember clearly your response to me was, Mom, you don't want me to be happy? And I said, not that I don't want you to be happy, but I think you're too happy, because it was weighing me down. And when I look at you, so during those moments, during that period, I think you were the one with the strong faith. Well, I don't know if you had the strong faith, or you were just hiding it, or you were able to mask it well, or whatever, I don't know. But I was the one who was depressed. I was the one who was feeling like I am the one who is in trouble. And like you were just off, going here, going there, doing your thing. But then again, probably I think you were just using it as maybe as a distraction, so it doesn't wear you down or whatever. But that was it. But I remember asking you, And that was your response. And I said, of course I wanted to be happy, but I think you're just too happy with this thing hanging over you.
I think based on my recollection of the time, I think I was just confident that everything was going to be okay.
Yes, yes.
But the one difficult evening after the one that I...
Okay, you had all the facts, right?
Right. So I knew what the situation was. But the night that I got arrested, the evening, I remember I was down by Elite Mall. Sister Melville was there. Sister Melville came. The police were called. I was told that I was going to be taken in. So they came. They put me in the car. There wasn't any, as I said, there wasn't any handcuffs or anything, but technically it was an arrest. Carried me down to the station. I think I had to like sign in something. I had to take my shoelaces out of my shoes, gave them. And then, so there's like a room, like the jails are here in this section, and then there's a room before you reach in the jails. But technically, if you're in the room, you're in custody, right?
Yeah.
So the instruction that was given was from whichever sergeant or whatever was to carry me down, and I'll get bail the same night, right? So in my mind, I'm only going to be here for a few minutes. So I'm sitting down in the room. Some other persons come in so that room is like, it's either you're going to get bail and go out, or you're going to go into the prisons. And the prisons are like right there. Like literally people could come out, you could see their heads or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm seeing, so there's this older guy who was in, there's a younger guy, and I'm there. I remember Deshane Richards.
Yeah.
He was a police at the time. I'm not sure if he still working there. But I remember so there's another room where the polices are, and then there's a window so they can see who's in the room. I remember he came into the room, and it's like he looked and turned around, he had to look again. It's like he was so shocked to see me sitting in that room. He was like, Dale Honeyghan. And then I explained to him that I'm in a little situation. Now, apparently, whoever Sister Melville needed a signature from the court for the bail or whatever, apparently that person, the court was closed for the day. That person wasn't there. So what would have been like a simple procedure now is like, it can't happen, and I'm gonna have to spend the night. And I couldn't tell all that Sister Melville was doing, but I could tell from like every time she came to the window and then had to run or whatever, it's like she was breaking down the walls of man, like she was carrying the whole world on her shoulder, like just making things happen.
Yes.
I could tell that it was an impossible situation getting me out that night, but she was like calling who she had to call, driving to where she had to drive, getting whatever signature she had to get, whatever. She comes back thinking that she has all that she needs. Oh, but you need this thing. She has to leave again. It was like, I could tell that it was like a whole thing that she had to do.
May I just say something where that is concerned, because you might not have known, but one of the persons she had called was Sister Brown.
Right.
Peter.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she, I think somebody that I'm not sure, I think the person is a JP that she could get at the time, maybe an in-law or something like that. But she was able to get that JP, and that was what was able to do that. That was what made it possible. So she was one of the persons that Sister Melville called. So it's like, these are my friends who they were there in this moment, and because Sister Melville said she didn't want me there, she said she would just deal with the situation, and so she called Sister Brown, and Sister Brown called this JP, and the lady was willing. I think she said that the lady had said it must be somebody who who you know very well or you have much regards for, that she would really leave and come out and assist or something like that. But that was very thoughtful. Yeah.
So I remember being there, and I'm sitting down now waiting. Hours are going by, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna spend the night here in the jail. I remember there's this one guy who, as I said, you can kind of see, like, the persons in the jail can kind of come to where a iron door is, and it's like he had a bag of weed.
Okay.
Somehow it fell into the room where I was, and then he was asking one of us, like, cause me and the older guy, he was asking one of us to get the weed bag and give it to him. So I'm like, I ain't moving. I ain't gonna I'm trying to get out of here. I'm not trying to get caught by the police giving him no weed bag. That's not. But then afterwards, a police was actually watching at some point and saw that the bag was there, came in, took up the bag. So I'm like, all right, I made the right decision. But then later, as time is passing and it's looking like I'm not getting out here, I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna be put in there with the guy who asked me to take up the bag, and I didn't give him. So I was like super worried about this whole thing. I remember I started crying on the bench. I was praying. I was making deals with God. I was saying, God, if you get me out this time, I'm going to serve you. I'm going to whatever. And it was, I don't remember how long I was in there, but it felt like I was in there for 24 hours. For my viewers, it wasn't 24 hours. It was like probably from 5 to maybe 10-ish.
Yeah, because your folks got home about 10:30, 11.
Right. So, but I was like the longest 5-6 hours of my life. Finally, Sister Melva came back. I came up, I was able to sign something. I came out. That's when I saw Sister Brown, and I saw the lady that was with them. So I figured that she was some part of getting me out. And that was like the rock bottom for me in that whole experience. Just getting out that night. Again, for my viewers, I won't go into the details, but I'll just let them know that everything kind of got resolved, and I'm just grateful to God that He worked it out in my favor.
Yes, we were all very, very happy that day when everything was resolved.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward, I'm gonna wrap this up. Not right now. I have like 1 or 2 more questions, but I have an interview with Love FM. So I gotta.
Okay. Yes.
I gotta get to that. But I on a lighter note, one thing that I always admired with you was you had a very interesting way of witnessing, where you would find these opportunities to get Christian literature to persons that you came across in your everyday life. So I just want to hear about that, like how that got started and examples you may have of how you were able to get literature out to persons.
Okay, well, I think this started some time ago. It could have been about 2007 or 2008, but it has been quite a while. It's like, literally, it's like the Lord just laid it on my heart and said that I should start this hospital ministry at the children's department, the pediatric ward, the Mandeville Hospital. And I remember the thing was just, and I said, but a lot of people visit the hospital, they go medical, surgical, wherever they go, and so forth. But then I'm not sure, people might have just visited the pediatric ward, but I was thinking of like a branch Sabbath school. So during Sabbath school, I always would go there and would sing and tell a story and, give them a memory verse, like a memory gem, and distribute some books and so forth, and then leave and get back to church for divine service. And so I remember sharing this idea with Sister Brown, that is Lorna Brown. And I remember her saying to me, if the Lord has laid it upon your heart pray about it, and go forward with it. And that was exactly what I did. And so I started asking persons if they have interest in joining me for us to form this group. And the sister Sharon Hines, some people know as Doreen Hines, she was the first person to say, yes, she wants to be a part of this thing. And so we started going, and then other persons would join in. And week after week, you might have others dropping out and others dropping in, but the core members were Sister Hines, Sister Stacy De La Pena, Sister Josephine Walker, Sister Margaret Lewis, and myself. As I've said before, week after week, other persons would join us and so forth, but those were the core members. And so we would get literature from the church. And then there were times when they didn't have any. And I said, I'm not going to depend on church to give me books, I can make the sacrifice because, this is a ministry. And so I started to purchase books, and Kenise, of course, she bought into the idea, and she would go out and buy books upon books upon books because, she likes to buy things and so forth. And then when she migrated and was in Trinidad, the cost of the books were much cheaper over there, and she would purchase lots and lots of books and send them out with paperwork, come in boxes and suitcases of books. So that was where it started. And I remember one end of year during the Christmas season, Sister Sharon came up with this idea that we should, just purchase some toiletries and other things and give it to the children. And then whenever we would go over there to the hospital, the parents would be there. And of course, so we say, no, man, we can't just minister to the children. So we say, we'll tell the children their story and passage of scripture. And we try to incorporate the parents, and we would give them books. And then I started giving the doctors books and giving the nurses books. And so I have to buy more and more books. And then we say, when we're passing the pharmacy, we say, wow, look at all these persons here sitting down waiting for the names to be called. And we say, there's an opportunity again. And then I said, Sister Lewis, you take over this ministry. I will be at the children's ward and you will do at the pharmacy. And so we would go to the pediatric ward first, do our thing, and then we'd stop by the pharmacy. But we had to be very brief, and we couldn't be, the volume had to be down a little because, the persons had to be listening for the names. Yeah. And so there, and she would do her witnessing to them, and we would distribute literature. And then I took it to school, to my workplace. And so I was determined that every non-Seventh-day Adventist member of staff, not just the academic staff, administrative staff, ancillary staff, everybody should get a book from me. And so I started with the staff. And then I said, but wait, what about the taxi drivers? Then I said, they have to get a book too. And so I purchased books for the taxi drivers. And so that is what it has been. And I'm still doing it. I also donated books to the Hope Bay Library, number of books, children's books, health books, different books, and so forth. And I also donated to the Port Anthony Infirmary. So I'm just impressed that I just don't give them the books like that. I will write a little note in it, telling them something about the Lord loves them, died to save them, and wants them to be ready when he comes back. A little note, have a great day, God loves you, and so forth. And that is my ministry. And I continue to do it. And then I just keep praying in my devotion and asking the Lord that each person who has received a book will not just put it down or throw it down, but they will read, the Holy Spirit will impress upon them, and they will come to know God. When I went to Trinidad, I did the same thing over there. When I went to Tobago, I did the same thing over there. And to be honest with you, I can only recall 3 persons that I've approached who have told me, no, they will not accept a book. One person, I was on my way to University of the Southern Caribbean, and this taxi guy, He said that he's a Muslim, and it was kind of argumentative, and he didn't want, and he wasn't being rude. He was just defending his religious beliefs, and so he did not accept the book. But I remember he was wearing a purple shirt. I did not get his name because I said, "Give me your name, I will pray for you." He said, "Me not give me name, not give me name, man. God, whatever." I said, "Okay, I will just pray and ask the Lord and tell the Lord, the taxi guy in the purple shirt," and he just smiled and so forth. So that was it. So and then another time I was on my way to Kingston, and I was sitting beside this young man, and I offered him a book, and he just scrubbed his face and just said, "I don't want a book." And I said, okay, that's okay. So that was basically it. And then another person, but most times the case, I always just, I pray and I say, "How are you doing today? May I share a book with you? It makes good reading." And just talk to him. I said, "Sure." I said, "I don't have the money to buy a book." I said, "No, I'm not selling. It's a gift from me to you." And they smile and they will just take it. So that has been my ministry, and I really, really enjoy doing it.
Yeah. That's nice.
Only eternity will tell the result.
Yeah. For sure. All right, real quick. What's your? I never asked you this. You have something to say? You want to say something?
I was waiting on your question.
Okay. What's your favorite song by Dale Honeyghan?
Thank you for loving me.
Why?
Thank you for loving me. And it's not. It's my testimony, because when I look back and see where I was and where the Lord has brought me from, with all the mistakes that I've made, I thank him for loving me.
Amen. All right. Nice. All right, I'm gonna leave it right there. I like that note. Thank you for loving me.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Wow, I want to thank you for coming on to my podcast. It was a good talk. I learned things I didn't know.
You're very welcome. Most welcome. Enjoy the Sabbath when it comes.
Thank you, and you do the same.
I love you.
Love you too.
All the best.
Thanks. You have me cheesing on my podcast. Guys, I thank you all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Wow, stop. Relax. Guys, I want to thank you all for coming on and being a part of this episode of Tbh. See y'all next time.